Give me the signal. Hello, my name is Lamerck, and welcome to the Naval Sports League. Thank you all for your patience. We're going to get right into things today. So, let's start with some league standings. I want to talk a little bit about the state of the league as we wind down towards the end of the season. And I'm sorry if I go through some of this a little quickly, folks. We want to get to the battle. I know that you all have been patiently waiting for that. So we're just going to, like I said, get through some of this real quick. Leviathan's on top with an 8-0 record. The Kraken's in the SCP, again, always vying for that second place position here as we close the end of the league. We've got a few games ahead for each of those guys, and we are going to see how this plays out. But either way, it seems like the top three are pretty set in stone here. Then we have the Royal Black Fleet, the Jackals, and the Marines on the bottom half of the league standings, and they're going to be jockeying for position. Now, I want you all to remember something as you're looking at this. There is opportunities here to still get something out of these battles, even though the top half and the bottom half do seem to be pretty set in stone. There is a final at the end of the season, right? There's going to be semifinals and there's going to be finals. That's not only going to be for the top three teams of the league, it's also going to be for the bottom three of the league standings. Each of those two brackets are going to have a semifinals and a finals. So it's something to keep your eye on. Even today, as we're watching teams on the bottom half of the bracket, like the Royal Black Fleets and the Jackals, what we're going to be looking at is to see where each one falls. Why? Well, the team at the top of their half of the bracket is going to get a bye to the final round of their bracket, right? So the Leviathans right now, let's say they stick around staying undefeated, or even if they get defeated, they have still the highest win-loss record. Those guys are going to have a bye to the final. They're not going to have to participate in the semifinal. The semifinal is going to be played between the second place and the third place teams. That goes the same for what we're looking at on the bottom half of the bracket. Right now, the Royal Black Fleet, as it stands today, would have a bye to the lower half of the bracket finals. And the Jackals would have to actually compete with the Marines to challenge them for the lower half of the bracket finals. So that's something to keep an eye on what we're looking at today. The Jackals pull out a win here, and then the Royal Black Fleet don't have a great rest of the season, right? That could change who gets to that final round. So that's the story of what we're looking at today. We're going to move over to the player leaderboard really quick. It's a pretty static thing at this point, but I want to make one quick mention about some things that may change in the near future. The player leaderboard, to get on it, you have to participate in a certain percentage of the games that are being played. And there's a player who absolutely dominates points-wise that has not had the chance to get to that. So there may yet be changes in the player leaderboard coming up. I'm not going to say who, because they've got to get there before I start talking about names. But keep in mind that what seems to be static here could change in these last few battles in the league. But we'll leave that at that. Keep the suspense and the surprise. Heading over to the side-by-side. We've got the Jackals versus the Royal Black Fleet today. Jackals, the Baltic Sea, Royal Black Fleet. Some of the things to note here is the Admirals. We have Phalasian, we have Gilly. Gilly, Royal Black Fleet, tried and true Admiral. He's been around and leading them for quite some time now. Phalasian is the curveball that we're going to see today. Usually, it's Charney, who is their Admiral, and well, they've had a few. They've had a few admirals over the season, but Phalasian is not one that we've been seeing recently, and it seems like they're subbing in a new admiral. I don't know why. It could be because of they want to try a different strategy. Maybe they're going with a different direction. So we're really going to see if that changes the way the Jackals play. And we've seen how the Jackals play. They get a lot of aggression towards the mid battle. Sometimes they peter out. All that aggression kind of depletes their cannons, and they're not able to finish. They've had opportunities where it's worked. They've had opportunities where it hasn't worked. So we're going to see if that holds true, or if that top down, what we're seeing today, ends up being something that really changes their strategy. This is the last game for the Jackals of the regular season. They'll obviously participate in the semifinals and perhaps final rounds, but this is their last opportunity to play in the NSL main season. So maybe this is them testing out the waters for another admiral to take them into the end of the postseason games and see if they have any better luck than they've had so far. Take a look at those top players and take a look at those ones to watch. I'm not going to go through every one of them because we do want to get to the game, but Keep an eye on these guys because they are the people who are going to be showing us hopefully a really good show. All right, let's switch over to the map preview, and this is where I want to bring in my co-host Eggs today. Eggs, thanks for standing by while I blew through some of that stuff. How you doing today, Eggs?
Happy to be here. Filling in for Atticus today. If you see Atticus at the bottom of your screen, don't get confused. I do my best Atticus impression, but I won't insult him by doing that.
That's good. Yeah, and we thank Atticus tremendously for stepping in, and he's helming us as the director today, and we of course love to have him as director. He's great. So Eggs, what we're looking here is Jackals on the British team, Royal Black Fleet on the French team. We've got neutral wind on Diamond Islands. This is a map that can cause some confusion for teams. You've got big spaces in the middle, you've got big spaces on the sides, and you've got these kind of like really annoying islands right where you'd want to take your fleet one way or the other. And so, with this neutral wind, what do you think we're going to see as far as what these teams are going to be producing for us today as
I
strategy?
think both these admirals would have looked at the tape, of past matches on this map. They would have seen that like other fleets can get caught trying to come around these islands and get caught in bad wind or a bad situation.
Yeah.
These islands are just so much bigger than they appear on this map. They're massive. So I believe in neutral wind, we're going to see the Jackals and the Royals go straight in.
Straight to the center. I'd like to see that. I'd really like to see that. It's going against the wind in this map is really dangerous because of the very slow progression it takes to get around one of those, like you said, very large islands. Like you see the names of these teams on this map preview right now, and the names are huge and the symbols are huge. Those ships are minuscule compared to these islands. And so you're absolutely right there. That's going to be a huge factor. Is I think you've got to go to the middle or you've got to follow the wind and see what happens there. Because circling around these islands can be very dangerous. What do you
Agreed.
think about the Jackals with the Admiralty change? Do you think that's going to really reflect a different,
We've
sort of?
seen Charney be really aggressive, have these really smart openings. The Jackals have more to gain with a win here than they do to lose with a loss, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Whether that leads to aggressive play, we'll see. We'll see if they be a little bit more cautious. But I am curious to see what Phalasian's opening is going to be because the last Jackals match, Charney had a really great opening, a really smart first, 10, 12 minutes of play
Yeah.
before they couldn't capitalize on a spiral of death. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see if Phalasian wants to be aggressive here or wants to play a little bit more defensive. But playing a defensive
Yeah.
can get you in your own trap.
Well, I mean, these openings are really going to tell us what we're looking at here today. Where these guys go, it's really going to be indicative of what kind of battle we're going to see play out. I, like you, am hoping for a charge at the center and an absolutely bloody affair. That's not always the Royal Black Fleet's MO, though. They are a cautious and very points conscious team. So that is what I'm waiting to see here is do the Royal Black Fleet do they play their cautious points farming style? Or are they going to go in and give a Jackals a run for their money? I think anyone fighting the Jackals has to be wary of the fact that the Jackals like to get close. Like you don't want to give them that opportunity because that's them at their best. So I don't know. I'm honestly I don't know with this one.
I do want to call out to our audience. We have our score bug is from a different match. This match on the left of our screen, we have the Jackals, and on the right of our screen, we have the Royal Black Fleet. We'll get that corrected graphic up in a second here.
Yeah, and we again, like I've said before, this is a volunteer group of guys who do this, and we do our damnedest. And sometimes things come up, sometimes technical difficulties arise, and the speed at which these guys correct those difficulties is always something that I like to highlight because they work their asses off to get this to be a pristine broadcast. And as you learn and you grow with these kind of moments, and so we look forward to the sort of adversity of it making us all the better for it. And we're very thankful to those of the guys who are working hard right now to get all this stuff set for you so it's all legible. But yes, like you said, Jackals, yellow ships. Royal Black Fleet, green ships. Okay? And we are at the all sail. So again, keep your eyes on whether the Jackals on the left in the yellow ships head towards the center, the Royal Black Fleet in the green ships on the right, if they head towards the center, if they start making aggressive moves, it's really going to tell us what happens here in this battle and what we can expect as far as aggression is concerned. Do they try to circle around the outside of any of these islands, staying on that outer ring? Or are they going for the center and they're going to try and get like a much tighter wind advantage once they pass that? The neutral wind makes it anybody's game. And what I think we're seeing right now, Eggs, is that the Royal Black Fleet is going against the wind. It seems like that's the beginning curve of their turn, and the Jackals look like they're going for the center. That I would give, if that is what is actually happening here, if the Royals continue this trajectory, that's pretty good for the Jackals as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I think these islands are just too big. That turn is going to take too much time. And while they're taking this big, long, wide turn, up to the top side of that map, the Jackals will be making better wind to hold a position in the center.
They're going to get to where they want to be way faster. And just to let's see if I can draw on the screen a little bit here. So let's say, taking a look at the overhead, let's say that these guys are going around for this. And they're thinking, well, the wind is going this way. So let's bank the wind now and then whip around afterwards and come out here or whip around this way and cut behind maybe a Jackals fleet that's somewhere around here. That's all well and good. The problem is that the Jackals can jet out here and then just turn and fire at where it is absolutely 100% predictable that these guys are going to come out. So that's where the danger really lies here for the Royal Black Fleet doing an against the wind action. That said, I mean, it's not like there's been situations where the guys who are here have wind like this way or this way on them. That's the worst case scenario. So it's certainly possible because, again, they're going at this direction here, which is, it's not the worst wind on Earth. It's possible that the Royal Black could come something like this. Maybe the Jackals end up here and then these guys whip around. But these islands are so large that you have a lot of time to react to that kind of nonsense. So that's what we're going to have to see here.
To the Royals' credit, it does seem like they are really trying to squeeze every bit of this angle that they can to stay in as much wind as possible.
Right, and that's kind of what you do. If I was them, I would actually be thinking about sort of banking this, getting bad wind here, and then kind of like cutting across a little bit. Either that or what they're doing now, which is, again, they're gonna just ride against this coastline and keep as little of an angle away from this direction of the wind as possible. If they can do that, they can build up more speed than usual here. The Jackals are not necessarily doing themselves too many favors because they're, again, also angling a little bit into the wind here with this trajectory that they have. So maybe the Royal Black Fleet's going to surprise us. Maybe this is the right call for them, especially if the Jackals don't pull out and set up some kind of angle of fire. You know where the Royal Black Fleet is going to appear. The question is, what do you do about it? How do you set your fleet up to pounce on that? Because what the Royal Black Fleet's real weakness is them coming around this island one at a time. One at a time, they're going to come around this island here, this way. And we really want to make sure that as they come around, they don't get slammed. The Jackals are pulling out, though, and I don't think they've got range, Eggs.
Yeah,
I don't think they got anywhere near it.
No, and I thought that they had turned in a little bit more to get that range, but I think maybe they might stop here and take a bit of a defensive posture, like dare them to come through this channel. But
And
they're being a little cautious.
If that's the case, the Royal Black Fleet can make the best out of that. Because if we're here, and let's say right about here is where the Jackals stop, right? They kind of keep their front ship here, and each of these ships are kind of down the line, and they're all threatening this perspective. They don't have the range. So the Royal Black Fleet can just skirt outside of range and whip behind with good wind. The Jackals will then just turn this way, and we'll have a firefight here. But that remains to be seen. Who's going to do what? What I like to say, though, is that they are relatively close to each other. This is a map where two teams can go in completely different directions and not meet each other for the first half of the battle. I hope that we're going to see a little bit more aggression here. And you're right, Eggs. Look, there's the Jackals. Yellow ships, Jackals, just parked and hanging out. Come on, come and get us. They've done this before. This is a place, this is a spot
Yep.
on this map where they have beaten the hell. I think it was actually out of the SCP, if I'm not mistaken, that they had this really incredibly interesting battle where they sat there in this position, and as ships got low, I'll show you on the map kind of what they did. They just took, like, the front ship got damaged, so they just pulled him back out of range. Second ship got damaged, they just pulled him back out of range while just firing across this distance here. It's something that they've done before, so we could see it again. I don't think the Royals are going to engage in this battle, however.
Oh, they're in a really dangerous position here. If they go in, if they head straight east, they'll be taking fire all the way east. But then again, to try to get around on the other side of this defensive position, we've talked about this defensive position before and how vulnerable it can be, but this island is too big.
Too big.
It's a really strong, and by the time they get around that island, the Jackals will be able to turn out to their starboard, to their right, go east,
Yep.
catch full wind, and meet them on the other side.
Exactly. So the way this is developing, I don't really see an advantage for either team. I think that this is going to end up with a charge towards the east-southeast wall, unless something really crazy happens. And the Royals would be mad to turn in at this point.
Agreed.
Because what we see so often with a stationary position is that the team that's holding at a certain position doesn't have one side of, like, their front of their fleet or the back of the fleet. Both of them are uncovered, which allows the enemy team to pressure one of them, right? This is something that you've seen, I think, multiple times when teams will stop. But the Jackals have done the right thing here. They have a absolutely humongous island guarding their. And so that is going to really help this formation to be a strong defensive formation. And we love to see that.
They also have 2 gunboats. Not too much of a defensive addition to the rear and the end of that island, but they have their 2 gunboats parked on the other side of that diamond island, waiting for everyone to come through.
What I don't like to see from the Jack, and yes, you're right. And listen, they can slow things down.
It's something.
Those gunboats. What I really don't like is that I'm seeing the Jackals. They are turning in toward the enemy formation. Like, the Royal Black Fleet is now stopping themselves here. We are getting shots exchanged, I believe. Confirm that for me, Eggs, if you can, that they are in range of each other.
I haven't seen any
close.
hit anyone yet. We might have the rearmost on the Jackals in range of the frontmost of the gunboat and 8-gun. But this is a bit of a Mexican standoff right now.
It sure is. Yeah, I'm seeing, like, the 13-gun main cannon might be just in range of something, maybe. But this is slow going. And it's so funny because we're talking, like, maybe on some of the closest ships, like, for the 13 guns, like a 20-meter. Like, they could be very close. So what are we doing here, guys? That's the question. Okay, we both got each other in a certain position. The Jackals are in the worst position here. They can defensively respond to anything that the Royals do, but they cannot offensively do anything here. This is a situation in which, because the wind, and I'll draw on the overhead real quick to remind everybody, the wind is going this way. So the Jackals can't go this way to, like, cut off the rear. That's not possible. Whereas the Royals can swing around this way and get a really strong wind to cut from behind the Jackals. What the Royals need to do here is they need to really bait the Jackals into somehow staying in this position. This is a bad position to stay in for the long term, and I think the Royals realize, like, we're going to have to charge the rear here to get any response from the Jackals. The Jackals are going to just sit. Now, what we'll see, again, is going to be a starboard side turn. The front of these, that you can see it now, they're starting to move. They're probably going to just start turning this way and get in a position where they can face the Royal Black Fleet line for line. So
it seems like the Jackals were just waiting to make sure that they were committing to going around that side of the island. I think they didn't want to make that turn out to the south without making sure that they couldn't get taken advantage of and have, the majority of this fleet just go a little bit left or on the other side of the island rather than the far side.
Yeah. Interestingly, we're not seeing that commitment happen just yet either. So they're
Yeah.
still waiting. They're still being patient. But what they're doing is they're kind of getting away from the island. Here's the issue for them. The issue is that the way that this Jackals line is arrayed out here, and so the front of the ship is so far to the north, they are losing their opportunity to really turn to starboard and have a coherent line to answer what is going to be a Royal Black Fleet's coherent line. The Royal Black Fleet is going to cut around that behind that island, and they're going to do it with their whole fleet intact. The problem is, are the Jackals going to be able to do the same thing? And that I really don't know if they're going to have that level of cohesion there, or is it going to be the entire Royal Black Fleet versus the rearmost ships of the Jackals line? That I really couldn't tell you.
I'm really interested by this move by the Jackals.
They seem to be continuing. This is interesting, but I don't know if it's good. I don't know if this is good for them. If this is a decision that's going to lead them to be able to bring their full fleet to bear. If I'm the Royal Black Fleet, I'm not worried about these gunboats right now. I am charging in because the Jackals have given you the opportunity to shake them at their core.
And they seem willing to put themselves in bad wind, although I do see just barely that lead ship on the Jackals is starting to now turn
A little
south.
bit to the right. Yeah.
East, rather. Sorry.
Yeah,
The
east.
bottom of the screen. But we'll see. Oh, but they've put some sails up. We'll see if they'll try to make it around the other side of that Diamond Island.
That. Yeah, I think the action right now is really with the gunboats attacking the Royal Black Fleet. We've talked a lot about when gunboats can be useful and when they cannot. This is a situation which it might seem like you're wasting your gunboats, but these are critical moments that the Jackals need to set up their next defensive position. And you can see that that's what they're doing. They're going to put themselves between the two islands most of the north, and they're going to just wait to receive the Royal Black Fleet. Remember, folks, even though they've switched sides, the yellow ships here are the Jackals, and the green ships are the Royal Black Fleet. So just keep that in mind. This Jackals formation is not good. Not good to be against the wind with your fleet looking like this. If the Royals were to press the advantage right now, and they absolutely should cut towards the center and charge, this is a Jackals fleet that is deeply disorganized in the process of getting reorganized. And that critical moment of reorganization is where you strike an enemy. I think that the Royal Black Fleet is a little bit too cautious. They're not pressing an advantage that they very much have right now, and that's a shame.
I agree. I mean, that was the vulnerable part of this turn, and they are already, even at the end of your sentence, have already consolidated here and getting themselves aligned in better winds. I mean, kudos to the Jackals to making, I think, that vulnerable position last as short as possible.
Yes.
The Marines are not in range. They're happy to take the long, circuitous route around these. It's my word of the day. Around these Diamond Islands. And while the Jackals are back in neutral wind, they're not as spread out as they used to be, and they consolidated a little bit.
And that's a testament to the Jackals' very nice use of their gunboats. They did distract the Royal Black Fleet a little bit with those gunboats. To buy them, 30, 40, 50 seconds to make this thing go. And now the question is, are we going to see these Jackals and the yellow ships go around another square island to try and get around behind the Royal Black Fleet? I certainly hope not. I'm hoping they just kind of get a more defensive position here. But it seems like these are two fleets that are anxious to not get caught. And these big islands really slow down the play for them when you're going around, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yeah, they really make you stick to one plan. You have to, are you going around one side? Are you going around the other? And they force you into these positions that can be really dangerous.
The Jackals have such an opportunity here, by the way.
Two turns straight east, a full wind.
Yeah, just No, I wouldn't even try. Right back here, cross right behind there, and the Royal Black Fleet's T. They have every opportunity now to cut around behind the Royal Black Fleet and hit them from the rear in a way that now an island is basically stopping them from doing. They would get into they'd get into a bit of a line battle for doing it probably at this range, but they can get very aggressive. They have the opportunity to turn southeast here, I think, and chase the back of the Royal Black fleet. And I think they're going to do it. I think they smell the blood. The Royals had opportunities, and now what they have is a turn that's going to put them in kind of okay wind, but maybe not the best wind. But yeah, you're seeing an all-out charge from the Jackals, and this is what I'd be doing. I would be going for the back of that Royal Black Fleet. Let's see if the speed will carry them there.
Although they did abandon a line to do it.
I would also abandon the line to do it. It's about speed at this point. Every ship just getting there as fast as possible. You could form a line when you get there, because the island is going to cover your approach. The island's totally going to cover your approach, because, and I'll draw it on the screen here. So they're all headed for where? They're headed to cross back here. As these guys spin around, they're just going to be able to spin around with them. So as the Royal Black Fleet goes around this island in one way or the other, the Jackals are going to be able to just chase their rear. Oh, I wonder. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're going to do what you said. They're going to turn east and cover this gap. Basically, something more along the lines of holding the center. Wherever the Royal Black Fleet goes, the Jackals hold the center and contest. Don't let
They're
them
playing
back.
they're playing King of the Hill today.
Yeah. Interesting. A little bit less of an overall aggressive strategy. I think they were going for what I was saying, and then they realized they might not catch it in time at the speed that they'd like. And instead, they're going to just turn their broadsides in at the center. We do have some contact now. Finally, these fleets have gotten close enough together where we can really have a go of it.
Oh, great hit by the Jackals carronade.
Yeah. By meeting line for line here, the Jackals have put themselves in somewhat of a not great position. Because the Royal Black Fleet has a more coherent fleet at this point. And so they're going to be able to concentrate fire very nicely. The Jackals are going to have to really get their fleet in order. And I'm going to swing this overhead around just to kind of help everybody to understand, which side is really which. So now we've got the Royal Black Fleet on the right, and we've got the Jackals on the left on the overhead. Jackals in the yellow ships, Royal Black Fleet in the green. And this is a fight to the wall.
I think you're right. I think this is going to go straight to the wall. I mean, the Jackals, as better as that position was for the Royals, the Jackals have not allowed much of an advantage to be taken from it.
No, and it's temporary because the island is not going to allow them to get closer, and it's going to give everybody a pause to reorient their fleets. So we're not seeing any major ship damage on the scoreboard at the top. We're not really seeing any of that. So great, like tons of fire being exchanged, tons of it. Not a lot of hits, probably. And it seems like both fleets have done a really good job at offsetting their 13 gun. So the 13 gun is at that longer range. I don't even think the 13 guns are in range of each other, to be honest. They don't seem to be.
No, they shouldn't be.
So it's really like who gets aggressive on the turn here. And the group that should get aggressive as they get around this island is the Jackals. The
Agreed.
Jackals should turn hard to starboard. They're going to have much better wind. And they should be able to reach a wall and cut off the front of the Royal Black Fleet and force the Royal Black Fleet to turn to the right here. So I'll draw that on the screen a little bit and show you what I mean. This angle here is where they want to go, and they force the Royal Black Fleet to turn here. Now, that's all well and good for the front ship and the second ship, maybe even the third ship, but these two ships at the end are going to have a problem getting into this battle and turning in a way that gets all of their cannons in range and rotation nice and early. So if the Jackals have any of that fiery spirit left that so often serves them, they're going to charge the front. And it looks like the Royal Black Fleets kind of see that coming. And look at that 13 gun. What an interesting thing the 13 gun is doing. Are they going to go against the wind to try and cut off the rear? That would be I think I think that's a really risky thing. I think the Jackals should totally let them do it. Totally let them do it.
Agreed. Agreed.
Not reserve those ships back there. Not stop it. Because you isolate that 13 gun and that 8 gun at the back, and that's what the Royals want. The Royals want to maybe isolate some of your ships, and then send their entire fleet after them. I wouldn't give them that. I'd keep my whole fleet together. Let them come chase me. You can easily sink that first 8 gun, and then that's it. Royal Black Fleet down a ship, and they get nothing for it because the time it's going to take to get around that island is going to be very long. So
Agreed. And the Jackals can just put up sail and just get out of his position before they'll ever really be able to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. So maybe they're baiting this move, and then they're going to jet forward, which I think is what they should do. And jet forward in a way, because that 13 gun, that Royals 13 gun is not in a great position because the Jackals could jet forward, swing around, and get real close and hit that 13 gun with a lot of firepower. The Royals will put their 13 gun dead against the wind. That is dangerous, 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 dangerous. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
I mean, this goes to tell you what each team feels about the stakes of this match. They're so cautious.
Agreed. They really do not. They don't want to give the enemy a good position, and it's creating very interesting tactical choices here. The desire to preserve your ship HP. You know, this is a battle that maybe they want to win, but they certainly don't want to lose.
Do you think RBF, the Royals, feel at this point that, you know, we've got a couple gunboats, we've done some damage? Do you think they're trying to go back to their old strategy of preserving a point lead?
I don't see that they've ever really given up on that strategy before. Like that seems to be their overriding concern. Build points. Build points. Just kind of like slowly chip away at the enemy. It could work for them here. This is a situation in which I'm surprised the Jackals stayed here for so long. They've kept their 1308 gun, and they've given the Royals an opportunity. And only now do they seem to be moving. Okay, you're going to move, and you'll get your ships reconnected. What I'm not seeing from either of these teams is any sort of maneuver that says like this is how we win. They're certainly able to say this is how we don't lose, but I'm not really seeing how they say this is how we win.
You're very right. These are two very defensive postures and very defensive thinking from both teams today.
Which I guess is understandable, you know. Especially the Jackals. Like this is their last hurrah for the main season. They'd like to win on points, even if just to get a win. Just get a win.
And you're so right that Royals move didn't end up about doing damage to the rear of that line. It was avoiding the damage that would have happened to them if they would have kept moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now we're back again at everybody just being a little bit too far away from each other for anything decisive to happen. And you know, again, it's hard to critique cautious play because it's not like either of these teams have been like avoidant.
Absolutely.
Right? They are jockeying for position, and they've both been jockeying for position, and they've both done a really good job of stopping the other person from getting the position that they're jockeying for. So I can't critique these teams too hard about what they're trying to do. I can only say that nobody is getting the opportunity to really slam the other person, the other team. And that actually shows a level of sophistication here that is nice to see. Even though we're looking towards the lower half of the leaderboard bracket here, we're really seeing that there isn't really that much of a gap between strategic understanding of what works and what doesn't here, which is nice.
And it's also interesting this far into the season to see what metas develop on different maps. Like this is just the meta of this map. This is a big defensive posture map. It's hard to get, you know, it's easy to get caught out in a poor position on this map. And we've seen, I mean, what have we seen the Royals do this entire map? This is not a criticism, but they've gone in a big circle, you know, while the Jackals have gone in just a smaller little circle in the center. And it's just, they're playing so smart and so defensive.
And of course, what else have they been focusing on, Eggs? Destroying gunboats. Yep. Look what their focus is right now. It just kind of ended. But what they've been doing is just slamming another pair of gunboats that were coming from them from the Jackals. So what are we looking for? Points. How are we getting it? Destroying gunboats. Get the points advantage. Like, this is the theory behind the Royal Black Fleet's play, and I think it's going to work for them very good today. Get a point advantage over the Jackals, bait them to charge you. Beat the hell out of them when they do. They've got about 10 minutes left, a little bit under. Now what the Royals need to do is form a defensive position and bait the Jackals to come and get it.
Agreed. They need to turn against the wind right now.
Yeah.
And you can even see the rearmost Jackals 8 turn to try to give some attention to these gunboats trying to get around them.
Yeah, because you got it. The gunboats are where the action's happening right now. And, I think that the Royal Black Fleet's gunboats are just going to try and reconnect with their fleet. Again, the Royal Black Fleet wants the Jackals to come at them. Come get us. We'll find a spot and hit you from there.
Such an interesting style of gameplay. We haven't seen this in a bit.
Yeah, we've had some pretty aggressive matches recently, which are, the fun, sexy ones. But these guys are looking to win. I mean, they have their own considerations. They've got points considerations. They've got win-loss record considerations, and they're not playing for. I mean, they're playing for our entertainment, of course, but they're not strategizing for our entertainment. They're strategizing to win, and again, what's the real group that's deviated from the norm is obviously the Jackals under Flavian, right? This is not normal Jackals behavior. It's not Jackals behavior that's completely unprecedented by any means, but it's not the norm of hyper-aggression. And they've realized that doesn't tend to win them battles quite so often. Now, here we go. This is the Jackals coming in. They've got a very small amount of room to maneuver. The Royals have this is an interesting thing that the Royals have done because they have these 2 8 guns that are kind of set off to the south that are going to turn in, and they're going to make the front. They're probably going to try and get to the front of their fleet. But going against the wind, the Royals are going to go against the wind, and they're going to try and catch these Jackals on the approach. The Royal Black Fleet needs to send those gunboats, turn hard left, and just charge the front of that.
Agreed.
The Royal Black Fleet.
They need to disrupt.
I'm sorry, the Jackals.
What I like about the Jackals' position here is that they are not afraid to take, I think, the scarier angle to get more wind. I'm interested that the Royals 13 has the kind of angle that it has right now, because
they're going to start turning out any second because they're in range, well in range at this point. So we're going to start seeing that 13 gun start slamming the front of the Jackals line.
But I'll have to say disadvantage to the Royals in this particular gunfight only because there's more things to break on that 13, and the Jackals 13 is at the rear of this formation.
Yeah, not to mention, keep your eye on that 8 gun that's separated from the Jackals line, because it's going to cross the T of that 13 gun. It's not that's something they banked for later. I wish there was another 15 minutes of this battle, because this is where things are going to start getting hot and heavy. But if if there were another 15 minutes, they'd probably be dodging and weaving for the next 15 minutes.
We'd see the same play over and over again.
So here it comes. This is the moment where somebody pulls ahead.
And the Royals gunboats seem more interested in protecting the rear of that line.
Yeah, I think that they know that they don't want to lose them. They don't want to lose them.
They're point sponges.
Yep, they are. They can get you a lot of points, but getting them all sunk loses you a lot of points. The problem here for the Jackals is the 13 guns rotation. They are not able to rotate that 13 gun into getting a serious play here. This is going to give I don't know what I just said, but if I said the Jackals, it's the Jackals who are having the issue getting their 13 gun in rotation. The Royals have the 13 gun leading. They have a lot more fire time here. Now the question is once the Jackals get the 13 gun into rotation, are they going to be able to make the best use of it? The Royal Black Fleet needs to do nothing but slam that 13 gun. Every ship has to be firing at that 13 gun right now. It's got to sink real fast. 5 minutes left. You can absolutely sink a 13 gun with concentrated fleet fire, and they do seem to be doing that. Vice versa, the Jackals also need to put everything they have into the Royal Black Fleet's 13 gun. But right now, if I'm not mistaken, based off the points I'm seeing, I think that the Royal Black Fleet's got a little bit of the edge It's really up to the Cannoneers at this point. We've got our line battle. We've got 5 minutes to do it. This could be a very climactic finish. It's looking not good for the Jackals right now.
This is the point at our stream where we ask AGS to have the ability to have a point counter. We'd love to be putting that bottom right screen and have a countdown.
That would be cool.
And see if these scores are jockeying back and forth. Ooh, great explosion from Bjornsson.
Yeah,
13,
Royal Black Fleet 13 gun turning
really
out.
Feeling pain. Yep.
Why? Why turn out? You got to fire at that 13 gun. You know what it is? It's the threat of that 8 gun crossing in front of them.
Yep.
You got to totally ignore that guy. You got to sink a 13 gun, and I think now the Royals. So wow, that Jackal's banking that 8 gun got into the heads of the Royals, and now they're going to lose a 13 gun for it because look at what they're showing. They're showing the backboard for the Jackals. They're showing cannons, a T crossing. This is so bad for the Royals, and it could have been so good. You know what they had to do? Stop moving forward. Just sit. They could have sat maybe a minute or two ago in a position where that 8 gun would have taken a little bit longer to get in front of them. Oof. And we're seeing a lot of passivity from the Royal Black Fleet's gunboats. Gunboats needed to pressure that 8 gun. Needed to. Didn't do it. And now the Royal Black Fleet is going to lose their 13 gun.
Wow, minutes to spare.
And by the way, maybe 60 seconds ago, these were tied up.
There it goes.
HP wise. Wow. What a catastrophic loss.
And now the hero of the day, the lone 8 gun, is in an incredible position.
Amazing position. Amazing position. Wow.
It's catching more wind. It's moving faster. It's going to stay in front of this line for the rest of the match.
Now the Royal Black Fleet's gunboats realize it's there. Now they're starting to turn around to do something. Way too late to make a difference here. 2 minutes and 52 seconds left. I'm seeing another sink probably coming in for the Royal Black Fleet to be down 2 ships, and the Jackals will lose none. Wow.
Also, great coordination of fire from the Jackals today. That is something that we've seen some teams struggle with. They have been dialed in. These 3 8 guns here in the core of their line have been laser focused on the same target for the past 5 minutes. Great job from them.
They got to keep hammering that front ship. They got to keep hammering that front ship because they're going to get a sink. And it's going to be great. Oh my God, so close. So close. So close. Next volley is going to do it. And 2 minutes left. It's not even out of the question they might sink another ship. What they don't want is to lose their 13 gun, and their 13 gun is getting hit pretty hard. They're pulling the 13 gun out because the 13 gun might go down. So now they need that second ship to not tie. And they've got it. They've got the second ship. So now they may lose a 13 gun, but they're still going to be ahead by 1 ship. And with a minute 50 seconds left, there's not going to be another one that goes down. So it looks like the Jackals have clinched this for themselves with its 2-ship sink. But they're going to lose their 13 gun.
This could be close, though.
There you go. 13 guns down on the Jackal side. Now it is Jackals with a 1-ship advantage at the end here. 1 minute, 35 seconds left. Guys, this is what happens when you wait to the end to start getting aggressive. You don't have time if things don't go your way. And unfortunately, the Royal Black Fleet did a great job at evening things out here, getting the 13 gun sunk. They have absolutely the capacity to come back and crawl their way back from this. They do not have the time to do it, Eggs. They don't have the time.
Wow, what a fascinating match.
Yeah. I wish somebody had gotten a little bit more aggressive a little earlier. I get why they didn't, but I wish they had. But you can see here the Jackals are in prime position. I mean, this is a phenomenal position. If there was another 5 minutes in this battle, the Jackals would still have a dominant hand here to play against the Royal Black Fleet. And right now they're just farming points.
Yeah, and the Royals have stopped. They haven't moved in the past minute.
This is their final stand. They're not going to lose another ship, but you know, still going to be pretty brutal.
I'm really curious to see what this point total looks like.
Same. 10 seconds to go in this battle, and it looks like the Jackals have managed to eke out a victory with a really, really strong showing against the enemy 13 gun. The Royal Black Fleet, I think, made the wrong choice in turning their 13 gun out. I get why they did it. The pressure from the front from that 8 gun really did spook them. But here we go. Very close. Very close.
5,000 point, less than 5,000 point difference.
Yeah, less than 5,000 point difference here. But a victory. A victory for the Jackals. Wow. Well, what'd you take away from this, Eggs?
Defensive play is interesting. Defensive play versus defensive play is always going to be slow, but you're so right that there is a timer on these matches. It's always defensive play butting up against each other is always going to lead to a chaotic final 7 minutes or so. But once teams realize, how much time is left on the clock, really, really great, smart maneuvering from both. I think you were right to call out that no one was really making a poor decision during all of these maneuvers in the beginning and the middle of the match. Really, really interesting. I think what carried out, a victory for the Jackals is just a slightly better angle. Banking a gunboat, whether intentional or not, I think was a really great move that really put a lot of pressure on and stopped the Marines from getting ahead of their line. Really great match there at the end.
I think you mean the Royals or Jackals getting ahead of them?
Jackals getting ahead of them.
Understood. Yeah, I that 8 gun was huge. Huge. It really changed what would have been a very standard line battle, and it got the fear into the head of the Royal Black Fleet's 13 gun, forcing it to turn out, forcing it to show its rear to the entire rest of the Jackal. That, damn. And it's real. See, and this is the problem. If you wait to the end, one wrong move dooms you. But if you got all that messiness done in the beginning and then reformed your fleets and then looked for a different opportunity, it's certainly possible that turnaround could have changed things and they could have had more time to maybe, to fight back against what seemed to be a winning Jackals situation. The sinking the Jackals 13 gun really showed that they did have the opportunity to turn things around for themselves. They just didn't have the time, and that was the tough part for them, is the time at the end. So you get that aggression out nice and early, but nonetheless, a very fun battle, really showing two fleets who were very respectful of not getting caught in a really bad situation with one another here. It seems like we've got the admirals here. I see Flavian and Gilly, I think I see Gilly. Do I have Gilly?
Yes, sir.
Hey, all right, folks. Well, first off, thank you very much, everybody, for a very great battle. Let's start with the winners. So we've got Flavian here. How are you today?
Great, thank you.
Yes. So this is a win for you. That win really manifests itself in the few minutes. What we saw from most of this battle was a bit of a chess match between the two of you guys, jockeying for a position. Tell us a little bit about what your thought was coming into this battle, and take us through some of your highlights. What was what did the enemy do that made you consider attack or defense today?
We had several options prepared, tactical, to this battle. We wanted to take the initiative, reach the center of the map as quickly as we could, and force the opponent to react. And I thought that they would come to the center the same as we, but I have some, option that they will go at the top. And the crucial point, if they go on the top, was to block them came to the center.
Right.
Because if they would rush us, charge, and go behind us, close to the island, that would be a very bad situation for us. And that why we stay on that center and don't go too far from that. But,
yeah, and I mean, if that was the mission was a success, because you guys kept the center, you held it. Every time they went around somewhere, you just blocked the center, and then eventually you guys left the center a little bit, had a bit of a battle, and then swung around towards the end. So take us into those final moments of the battle where the battle really heated up. Those last like 7 or 8 minutes. What we saw from the overhead was how important that lone 8-gun was. That 8-gun that was separated from the rest of your fleet and crossed in front of the Royal Black Fleet and really got the attention of the Royal Black Fleet's 13-gun, causing it to turn its back towards the rest of your fleet. And that's where you really started getting the points advantage over them. Was that an intentional move to have that lone 8-gun cut off the front of their fleet?
On the beginning, we put that 8-gun to hit enemy gunboats. But when we saw where the opposite fleet is going, we said, "Oh, that could be a nice option to try to move that 8-gun into the center and try to cut the way." And I have some hesitation in that moment when we was close to the wall, and where to go by all our rest of fleet, to that 8-gun or to the middle, the between the islands, to the center. And it's credits to Asparov who said, "Go to the middle, between that island," and it was a great idea.
Yeah, it really worked out for you guys. So I don't remember the last time I've seen you, Admiral. Your strategy was a little bit of a departure from what we've seen from your team. It's not the first time, and especially on this island, a conservative holding the center, blockade, the enemy. That's something that worked for you on this map previously. Did you look back to some of your older battles to kind of to refresh yourself on like kind of what works on this map? Because this is a good map for you, even though it's not your usual very aggressive style.
It was my 5th match on this map, because in Vodka Coalition we had 2,
yes,
and in Jackals we have 3. And I've prepared a bit tactical, and there was match, I don't remember, I think Seawolves with Chewie on the Admiral, and he did something great, some kind of death spiral on the middle, and that was and that inspired me to center is a really good idea to hold this map in this map, and that was that.
Cool. Well,
If
Eggs,
I
you
could also
go ahead.
add something. In the most basic part, it was always our plan to crossing the T. No matter what, always have 1-2 ships that cross the T of enemy fleet. So,
so that was
always a plan.
Something you always wanted to do. Well, it certainly ended up doing it today. Eggs, I wanted to pass to you if you have any questions for our victorious admirals.
Yeah, I know Piet was on the overhead. Legion, do you guys typically have an overhead admiral? How did you find kind of that workflow during the game with someone being able to kind of like be your eye in the sky?
It was very helpful, yes, if I could say about it. Yeah, it was very helpful. It was something I do not do during the vocation time, as I was on the position as Falashan was during this battle.
Yeah, because
yeah,
it was my first battle as first admiral. So I'm captain of 8-gun. It's my best position. I understand this game from that position, and I didn't want to change that because I feel like a fish in the water, and but I knew that I could be overwhelmed by too many things to see, to steer my ship, to look at the line, what opponents are doing. So I need some backup, and that vice admiral on the air camera was my support. But there's a risk in that the admiral on the 8-gun, but about boarding action with this mess close to you, and I couldn't see in that time what is going. So I need someone who could take command in that situation.
Smart. Well, it worked out today. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Very big congratulations. This is your last battle of the main season, if I'm not mistaken. So a great time for a victory for you guys, and well done. All right, let's switch over and talk to Gilly, who we have here for the Royal Black Fleet. Gilly, how you doing?
I'm doing good now that my internet isn't tweaking. And
Yeah.
congratulations to the Vodkalition as well.
To the
Oh, I said Vodkalition? Holy show, God.
Well, that's what they were.
That's what they used to be,
It's a
yeah.
callback.
That's what I still think of you guys as. Yeah, good job, Jackals.
So tell us a little bit about this battle from your perspective.
We were trying to gain the top portion of the map, so the western side, as Wynn was running west to east. Once we saw them take up a defensive posture in the middle of the map, we came up with the idea. We initially didn't want to fight in their spawn near their gunboats, knowing that they are a very boarding and carpenter heavy sort of team. But eventually, as they were sitting in there, it became evident that their gunboats were isolated behind the little Ravioli Island. So we swung around them and took care of them both pretty quickly. But in doing so, I believe it was Zubs. He went off today for the Jackals. His damage as a carpenter, even though, in my opinion, I feel like we were winning most of the shootout, the damage he did as a carpenter consistently kept the score very close or kept us underscore and made us have to adjust and kind of force the fight in positions we didn't really necessarily want to fight in. But again, that's what the Jackals are known for. So kind of on us. We knew they were going to do it, but we didn't. We just didn't execute in that moment when he was there. He was able to get aboard, kill a couple people, just dance around them, do a lot of damage. So big ups to Zubs today, for sure.
Very nice. So tell us a little bit
Or not Zubs, I'm so sorry. It was a carpenter, wrong team. I don't know what it was. It was a carpenter for the Jackals, though. My apologies. Zubs was on our team. My bad.
So what were you were a captain today, yes?
Yes, sir, the 13.
Okay, so on the 13, tell us about your thought process as that 8-gun at the end crosses in front of you. And you have a decision to make there. And it was a, sort of a wind of screwed if you do, screwed if you don't kind of situation there. So tell me a little bit about your thought process.
So as we were spinning around the island, we realized we had a lone 8-gun that was going to get its T crossed by 3 of their 8s. That was a Splunker. And we realized they would have that angle on us with the wind. So we tried to stop and cut back inside to split their fleet to try to get the 3 8-guns to chase us away from their 13 and other 8. Their 13 regrouped with the 3 initial 8s that were near the map border, but we didn't fully anticipate, to be fair. They left that single 8-gun back there to harass our gunboats, and in doing so, he was in an opportunistic position at the right time to cross our T, and due to how close we were already running to the angle and we were both fighting the wind sailing from east to west, he was just in a better position to execute the T crossing they were looking for.
Yeah. And so, it seemed like him getting in front of you and catching your attention, that sort of seemed like the moment where the HPs really diverged. Like up right until that point, I think it was really anybody's game. Which 13 was going to go down first, kind of hard to tell. Your concentration on that 8-gun that's crossing in front of you ended up exposing the rear of your 13 gun to, the fleet's kind of broadside. Was there any thought on your end that maybe you just kind of let it hit you from the front and just continue to focus down their 13, or were you did not want that guy in front of you?
To be fair, in hindsight, I probably should have slowed down, let an 8 catch up to me so that as I make that turn, the rear of the ship is covered. But in doing so, that 8 might have to sail a bit more in to take damage, but the trade-off for the 13, I'm sure, as you know, is like you're willing to take a couple hits for your 8 if you can get a couple shots more out of your 13.
For sure. Well, Eggs, I want to pass over to you. Got any questions for Gilly?
Yeah, Gilly, you were saying, I think the carpenter you were thinking of, was it Scott?
I think that's who it was. He had like 400 points after that first action. I was like, Jesus.
Shout out Scott. I think Scott had a great game. I was seeing him in the kill feed on that boarding action he got. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, later. I think he got a double kill and then a couple of axe kills, and then was kind of running around before he got taken out. But were you up until that point? That's when you could have had the opportunity to kind of, I think, turn in. Were you attempting to turn in, or did you want to stay kind of on the exterior of those islands at that point?
We wanted to stay on the exterior of them to because whoever came to who through the pass is coming into the other's broadside through a funnel. So it was kind of just a game of dancing to see who would do that first. And they were able to just cut us off back to our own spawn, which is why we made most of the fleet cut in left between the two islands. Our 1-8 gun, I gave them the command too late to turn back out of that, but they still made it out at least healthily without taking too much damage. They were just out positioning us. They started strangling a noose around us as we were losing wind. You felt it.
I've got no more questions. Eggs?
No, I mean, a really great match to watch, guys. Everyone was doing the correct counter to every move that was happening up until the end. Really, really tough. I mean, I don't know if you guys caught the score difference, but that was somewhere around 4,500 some odd. So that really could have gone either way, even up until the last few minutes.
Yeah. It was a game where you could tell that both of you guys were really waiting for the moment where somebody else made a big mistake that you could pounce on, and the fact that it got to the end. Normally, we could be a little critical of slower matches here, but you guys were not like running away from each other. You guys really were just trying to like bait and trick and maneuver around each other, and it was just a really great, all right, I pressure you, but you don't me, I don't, right until the end when you're just like, okay, we got to finish this. We got 10 minutes left. Let's get in there. And things got decisive. So kudos to both teams. I feel like this was a really professionally played game. And it really goes to show that I think that this season is going to finish, and then the semifinals and finals are going to be some really good battles. I think everybody's really grown and matured over this season in their strategy. It's been great to watch from every single team, regardless of where they ended up on the. So kudos to everybody here for some great battles. And we've got more to come from the Royal Black Fleet. We do not have any more to come from the Jackals, but we will see them after the season in the semifinals and maybe even the finals round. So with that, Eggs, I want to thank you for jumping in and hosting with me. And I want to thank, of course, big thanks to Atticus for saving the day today as director. And of course, big thanks to everybody involved in the production of these streams and for all the hard work that they do, all of our correspondents, the guys who sort the mercenaries out, and of course, our players, our mercenaries, are out, and all of our fans out there who are watching. You guys so much for joining us. We will be back next week where my team, the Leviathans, will be fighting the SCPs, a long-awaited fight for which we are extraordinarily excited. We've got some really at the end of this season that are going to determine where things fall at the end of the season. We will see you there, same time next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.